welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. This week, just in time for kids to be going on summer break, I decided we would go to school and we were going to visit the class of NUKE EM HIGh. Anybody can pick whatever on this podcast, but 9 times out of 10, if it's a Troma release, you can probably guess it's a Kelly that picked it. You know, I have a very weird relationship with this specific movie. I obviously, when I got into Troma, I really got into Troma. And I feel like Class of NUKE EM HIGh has always been a film that I can't put my finger on if I like it or not. I think that there are specific scenes and moments that are amazing, but I also feel like it really represents early Lloyd Kaufman's good and bad tendencies in a singular film.
It's completely the bridge between Toxic Avenger and like Sergeant Kabuki Man, and it's completely the bridge between tasteless kind of nonsense that Toxic Avenger was, and then tasteless nonsense that Troma became a caricature of. Like this is the sweet spot of those things for me, which makes me like and not like it. It makes me I think that's why I agree with you, Matt. Like, I don't really know where this falls for me, and this is maybe my third watch just in the course of my life, and I still don't know where to place it, and I still forget so much that happened.
Yeah, and I also, spoiler alert for over the next couple years of Horror Movie Night, but I'm pretty sure it's, in my opinion, the weakest of the Class of NUKE EM HIGh franchise in general.
The fact that there are 5 of these?
5 of these. Yes. So the 2 direct to DVD, I say direct to DVD, this was released in theaters in the sense of it was released in a theater in New York, I'm sure. They had the sequels were definitely straight to the VHS and Cinemax market, which means there are boobs aplenty in NUKE EM HIGh 2 and 3. 2 is insane. It's a college class, and they're doing some mutation where girls have mouths on their stomachs now, and it's very strange. But I remember enjoying the absurdity of it. But actually, and I think Kyle can speak to this if he's seen them, the Return to NUKE EM HIGh films that they did in the last couple of years are arguably some of the best movies Troma has ever produced. They are they are so good.
I'll
What does good mean, though? I am just so confused here.
So, it's what you expect from Troma for sure. It is in your face. It's offensive and crude, but whereas Poultrygeist is all of those things, and you can tell what Lloyd is trying to say, but he's missing the mark 100% of the time in Poultrygeist. It feels like he's absolutely hitting what he's setting out to say in Return of NUKE EM HIGh. And also, it's probably got the strongest cast of actors that they've ever had in a Troma
Actual
movie.
Actors.
A lot of I think the 2 female leads have both had pretty solid indie film resumes beyond that point.
Yeah, Asta Paredes, who is now Asta Karlowitz, and Clay Karlowitz, who is also in it. But Asta plays one of the female leads, and she's fantastic, as is Clay. Clay obviously gets directed to be an off the wall, overreactive
and I think
student,
but I think the other girl, Catherine Cochran, is in Terrifier.
She's in Terrifier. Yeah, she's in there was this she came from the woods or something from these. Yeah, she's they're all I think they're New York City based, or they were New York City based actors, and Matt's right on the money. It's it hits the things that Poultrygeist does not. And it's not it's nuanced or toned down. Nothing is reeled in, but it's just actually a better thing.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's a good movie. Now,
but I've not seen the other sequels, and 2. Now you got me interested in 2.
2 we might
got me interested in 2 as well, which is fucking weird.
Yeah, 2 is the one I saw first, which moving to this after that is very different, because there's also. Again, with Kyle being kind of a Troma aficionado, can speak to this too. But
I didn't want to be.
Yeah, but
I
like
didn't want this for my life.
the Troma sequels that are in fact not directed by Lloyd Kaufman have such a strange flavor to them compared to like the ones that Lloyd made. And
Well, there's certainly somebody trying to prove something like behind it. You know what I mean? Like Lloyd doesn't have to prove anything, but everybody else has a little bit of something to give. And it kind of it's weird.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't speak for NUKE EM HIGH too, but the other things that I've seen that are like not just distributed by Troma, but like are produced but not directed by Lloyd. You're just like, what's going on?
It's a very strange. Yeah, it's a strange vibe. I mean, this movie, it screams, ooh, Toxic Avenger was a bigger hit than we thought it would be. Let's make a movie really quickly. Which is, I think, why the movie feels so chaotic. It just feels like they are throwing ideas left and right. Like, in my brain, and Scott, I'm assuming this is your first watch on this one, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You are right.
Oh, really?
So for me,
I'm
again...
not...
he's not a Troma man.
I'm not a Troma guy. Like
no, but
pretty much every Troma I've seen is because of this show.
I was thinking sort of like, even though these, I mean, I actually come to think of it, this isn't really like a punk horror movie. It's like it plays into that, but it's really not. Okay, so but that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping Kyle will agree with me on this too. The nerd melting, I swore, was so much later into this movie than like the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, I didn't. No. Once we see Melvin fly through the window again, and then we cut to
this movie,
then we cut to the person melting. I'm just like, oh, okay.
There's a scene where the Cretans rob an old lady that I swear to God is verbatim a scene that happens in Toxic Avenger.
I'm pretty sure, and it's the same guys.
It's the same actors.
Guys, so like they just
that
robbed
has to
the
be
same
intentional.
lady. Yeah. That was a rehearsal. They filmed a rehearsal for Toxic Avenger. And they're like, we don't like the getup. Like, you change your outfits, and then we'll just do it straight. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny. What's the year difference between the two of these movies?
I literally think it's like 85, 86 or like 84, 86. Like, this is the very next movie after Toxic Avenger.
Wow,
is like unexpectedly a midnight movie success. Like,
it was fun, but again, I feel like my brain's not going to. And not because it was for any Dorito sense. I actually think that it's complete chaos of a movie that is just it doesn't stick. Every room in every Troma movie looks exactly the same. Every bedroom is dressed by the same person and looks exactly the fucking same.
Yes.
Watch this, watch Romeo and Juliet, watch fucking Terror Firmer, and then even into Return to NUKE EM HIGH. Like, they all are made exactly the same.
Because, like, very rarely, Romeo and Juliet, I know for a fact, was shot on locations. But for the most part, it's like they filmed that shit in a warehouse that they just like slide in whatever sets they can and just say, yep, this is this bedroom set. Like, and
Troma Studios in the basement in Queens.
Like, if you think that they're throwing out a single set that they built for a movie when they know they can use it 15 to 20 more times for a lower price, let's be honest here. But I mean, So the quick breakdown of this plot, because there's so much plot happening and so little plot happening at the same time, is that we've got this high school that's built right next to a nuclear power plant. The movie literally kicks off with there being some type of issue at the power plant that contaminates the drinking water. A nerd named, I want to say it was like Dwayne or Dwight or something like that, drinks the water, has a full meltdown. And then within a week,
well done.
Yes,
that's good.
Yes, true.
Has a full meltdown within a week. Like, the honors students are now like this drug dealing gang called the Cretans that are just like pure punk rock chaos. And they start selling weed that's grown outside the nuclear power plant because the chemicals are making the plants grow bigger and faster. And anybody who smokes that weed now starts to have their body mutate and shift and change.
There's some crazy body horror in this that I was not expecting.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, enter our bland as hell leading man and leading lady who smoke weed and have sex and immediately get pregnant with like a slug sperm baby creature. And then like all of these plots just kind of collide into each other in the third act. On the positives, like I'm going to start right here with the positives. Positive number one, the actual meltdown of the nerd looks phenomenal. Like when that body is just like good. Even like the puppet head that they eventually melt it down to,
way
like
better than it has any right being.
Insane. And also, fun fact: the only time I've seen the Aquabats live, they have a song called "Meltdown," and the entirety of that song they just kept projecting this sequence from Class of Nuke 'Em High behind them, like over and over and over again, which I just was like, God damn it, I love the Aquabats so much. Secondly, everything with that weird baby looks amazing. Like the little like tadpole version of it looks great. Mm-hmm. The super gooey person in a suit at the end looks better.
There wasn't a whole suit, Matt. You know that, right?
Oh, for sure. But like everything
they got
about
the head
it looks
and hands and tail. That's all that they got.
But like it looks
dude
better
in a black
than
t-shirt underneath.
Yeah. I mean, whatever they did, it looks better than it has any right looking for this movie. Like that first reveal of that head coming up and it's like covered in like snot. And it just like tears its teeth. I'm like, God damn it. Like those are the things that make me rewatch the movie, right? Yeah. It's like, God, those moments are so good. His fist like going through a woman's skull, just like full head explosion as like its claw bursts through this girl's face. Like amazing. Like there's those moments that are so good. And then there's the rest.
It does, even with its short runtime, it does sometimes just feel like, and I think it's because all of those plot points just sort of like divulge upon each other, like that. It's just like, oh, we're waiting to get to this point. But it is, I mean, I'm not complaining. It's just more of like it's just a testament to like, where does this fall for me on the list of like Troma stuff. It's just it's so chaotic with still trying to have a through line, as opposed to like later Troma movies where they just abandon ship and just make the thing, which sometimes is charming too. Sometimes that's just as charming,
but sometimes it's not. And
the college party that they go to is the craziest college party I've ever seen on film. It rivals Animal House. Clearly,
the swimsuit party that they attend.
Yeah. Oh my God! And that these high school kids are like, oh, we're gonna get you into a swimsuit party, and then he's wearing basically flippers and sunscreen, like the equivalent of like swimmies and sunscreen on his nose. This dude is this Larry Zerner knockoff is wearing to this fucking party. It's crazy. It's crazy, and the dude is such a dweeb. It makes me. I love shit like that. I really.
They do a great job at that. Like it. Yeah. I think that there are a few horror companies in this world that know how to make the most pathetic nerdy character that you can imagine is like one of your leads. Man. Be it Melvin or this dude or like even like Terror Firmer, like bringing in what's his face, the guy who like later went on to write a bunch of the movies and play Killjoy, Trent Haga, like playing like the diehard Troma historian throughout that movie, and you're just like, this dude is such a fucking loser, and he's so charming. Like,
he was the coolest of them all. It was. It
was a real Randy and Scream moment for the Troma franchise.
It is somewhat that. It's very that sometimes. It's good for them. Good for them. Scott, what do you got something green over there?
Yeah, what are you sipping out of over there?
I decided that the green water from the water fountain wasn't enough, so I went with Green Grunge IPA.
Oh wow, Green Grunge? It is
actually really, really good. It's one of the best IPAs I've had in a long time. It's just like it just reminds me of when I first started drinking IPAs in college, like late college, and I was like, oh, beer doesn't have to taste like pee. It can taste like skunky pee.
Yes, that's fantastic. I'm drinking, so I wanted to get this IPA that was made with matcha, with like green matcha powder, so it'd be green. And I think I've had it on the show before, but I couldn't track it down. But this just came into the store that I work at, and it's called Terp Fog. And it has terpenes in it. So if we're talking about weed from Class of Nuke 'Em High, I had to make sure I got the IPA that had a little bit of weed, a little bit of Dorito in it.
A little bit of Dorito, just some Cheeto
and it does.
Dust
It doesn't. Sometimes I've had a beer that has terpenes in it and it tastes like bong water. Luckily, this one does not.
I think mine might taste more like bong water than yours.
Green grunge.
I
love
can't remember. I can't. I'll have to. This is I think it's a special, like a limited edition from. It's actually made by Fathead Brewery, which is in Cleveland. They also make my all-time favorite, which is I've talked about on the show. I think I brought you some. At Creature Feature,
yes.
That's the Headhunter IPA
yeah,
that I love.
The
so
Headhunter
much,
is great.
Yeah. But if I can find more of this, I'll hold on to it until we see each other at our next con. But
meet again.
But what I wanted to say was, can't remember what show it was, but there's this really cool music venue up in Cleveland, one of the boroughs of Cleveland, and it's called Mahal's 20 Lanes because it's a bowling alley, but also a music venue. Like it's like a lot of pop punk stuff and emo stuff that we listened to, like 10, 20 years ago. I'm pretty sure this show that I'm thinking of was the early November with The Dangerous Summer. This was years ago.
Nice.
Definitely before the pandemic.
Hell yeah.
I've seen the early November there multiple times because it's like the place that Ace Enders always books when he comes through Cleveland. But I digress, and what I wanted to say was that there was I got a beer because I typically at shows will have a beer just to have in my hands so that I can like sip it and not feel quite so awkward with my hands.
Yes.
But I don't remember what it was called, but it was like supposed to smell like weed. And they cracked open the bottle and I was like, holy shit. It smelled, I was walking around and I smelled like I had bags of weed in a trench coat.
It sounds like a
me.
prank beer. Like it sounds like
it actually tasted fine, but for the life of me, I cannot remember what it was called. But like I definitely had a beer that was way skunkier than this one, and it was intentionally skunky. So, but back to NUKE EM High, this whole thing that we're supposed to be talking about. I loved everything about watching this once.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's a resounding review from Scott Roger.
Well,
no, I get exactly what you mean because this is one of those films like Toxic Avenger. I could feasibly find myself watching every 2 to 3 years, like Terror Firmer, Romeo and Juliet, like some of those movies that I loved, especially in college. Those were like every couple months I would rewatch those. But even then, like Class of NUKE EM High was like a once every 5 to 10 years. Yeah. I'd remember like certain scenes and be like, I like Class of NUKE EM High, right? And I would put it on and then be like, man, the parts that I remember are still really good, but all the parts that I forgot for good reason. Yeah. Because there's like no meat on the bone beyond the bits that they're getting to. And I am pretty sure I should have reread Lloyd's biography beforehand, but I'm pretty sure that this was not the success that they were hoping it would be off of the back of Toxic Avenger. It did better than I think it had any right to do at its release, but it was like the writing was already on the wall that they were trending downward because I think after this was Troma's War, which made sure that they would never have another truly theatric release ever again after that. But Troma's War is that is like, you will meet people who will swear that it is the best film that Lloyd Kaufman ever made, and then you will meet people like myself who think that it is the biggest miss of his entire
I'd
career.
be interested in rewatching it. I bought it years and years and years ago, maybe freshman year of college.
He still thinks it's his best movie. Like he really thinks that was like the peak of him as a filmmaker.
I don't trust anything he says.
Good. The less you trust Lloyd Kaufman, the better.
Yeah. Like I like the "in Lloyd we trust" idea, but I don't trust it. I mean, that's why I use money anyway. That's why capitalism works. That's why capitalism works. I just have to blindly trust, but I don't really believe it.
Yeah. Well, so here is a quick little Cliff's Notes of what I liked about this movie. Yeah. It starts out with the guy. The Cretans, the biker gang for the uninitiated who may be listening and not know what we're talking about. The Cretans, who are kind of the primary antagonists of this movie are a biker gang that are still in high school sometimes. But there's one guy who doesn't wear leathers. He wears like an not an ascot, but like a sleeveless sweater with a bullet bra underneath it.
Yeah.
Again, keep in mind
Hot as hell.
until they drank the tainted water.
Yeah.
They were the honor society. So
Right.
like it makes sense for it to be like there's
doesn't
these
make sense that
elements
one
of
of them
their
doesn't
dorky.
wear leathers, Matt. I don't
I'm just
understand.
maybe he only had a sip of the water compared to everybody else
know.
who went like full hog on the water.
Well, it's so interesting too because like that nerd drinks the water.
Dewey. His name is
but
Dewey.
Dewey drinks the water, but it's already a week after these other people
I think
drank
that
the water. So
I think he drank way more radioactive water.
yeah.
Because
That was a direct line to the,
Yeah, like I think that
okay,
they drank bad water and he literally drank sewage.
Yeah.
It was just like straight green. But that had to be a better body melt than anything I've seen in Street Trash. And I wish that I had seen this movie before we went to Creature Feature Weekend and did our hot takes, because I feel like that would have killed.
You know, I
setting.
actually wonder if it was the that would have killed actually completely. But I actually wonder if the same effects artist who did Street Trash did Nuke 'Em High, because they did Toxic Avenger too. Actually.
Oh,
I'm gonna look that up while I.
I think so, and the only reason why I'm saying that, I did zero research to just agree with you on that.
Yeah, but it feels right.
The look of that skull as it's moving feels not too far off from like the head still in the toilet that's like gelatinous, that's like kind of talking before it like.
I would say it's better than that because it's like the best effect I've ever seen in a Troma film.
I hope people hear that as your hot take and then just take it all up in the comments later on after this episode. Be like,
There's
that
no-
motherfucker.
No
For how many
press
people
is
told
bad
us how
press.
much they liked the hot takes episode, the comments were pretty empty. On that
Well, it's
episode's
because
release.
I feel like the people that want to comment on our socials are going to comment their experiences about the movie that we're talking about, and since it's hot takes, they're like, well, it's kind of.
I think they're afraid Dylan would come out of nowhere and try to fight them.
Yeah, I think Dylan,
I don't know.
Dylan's our heavy
listening
now.
to that, it was as aggressive in real life as it sounded like on the recording.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I was on the far end of the stage because he sounded so animated, which is hilarious because he's just.
He did go
sweet
full
man.
wrestler. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just, you kidding me?
All right, confirmed. Not the same effects artist, but it really felt right. Okay.
Well,
They
Yeah.
might have just gotten
Scratch it from the
leftovers
record.
them. All right. So I have a question for you guys as I'm going down my list of things I love about this movie or truly enjoyed about this movie. So there's one thing I really hated. It was them saying nuclear instead of nuclear. And so at first I heard the fat dude in the hard hat, who's basically like the foreman of the power plant, say nuclear. And I was like, okay, so that was just a joke, right? Like it's a bit. And then they stopped. They never once said nuclear. And I'm like, I don't think it was a bit. You know, I'm pretty sure it wasn't a fucking bit.
Well, wait, hold on a second. So, hold on a second.
it's
I'm
jerk.
gonna drop my brain. I'm gonna wipe my brain for a real quick second. I'm gonna try to say the word
Yeah.
You're gonna
nuclear.
fail. Oh, there you go! Yay!
Okay, I was like, maybe it's because it's like, you know, everything's done in like the Jersey, New York area. Like that's just like a pronunciation thing.
I don't know.
Millstone Nuclear Power Plant. Nuclear.
Nuclear.
Nuclear. No, I say nuclear.
What?
Nuclear
Well, you're
power-
wrong.
nuclear
That's not a
power
word.
Yeah, so it might be a regional thing. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
No, being saying a fake word is not regional. It's just being wrong.
Nuclear.
You're never gonna get it right.
Nuclear. Lisa.
Nuclear.
No, it's spelled Nuclear.
No, I understand,
Nuclear.
but I'm. No, I understand. I know that I'm in the wrong. It's just. But
You just don't care.
I can't.
Ooh,
change.
wait, hold on a second.
There's
I have
some
a
things
random
I won't
thought.
change.
Is new metal just short for nuclear metal?
Nuclear. No, it's nuclear metal.
Speaking of which, I loved the theme song from this movie.
Dude, the theme song is so
so good.
It rules.
I have to, if I ever do another cover, like a Console Crash Horrors that's with songs with music, or I'm sorry, songs with with lyrics, then I absolutely have to do this song.
I honestly think, I'm thinking about this, I feel like you could get away with maybe a 4 or 5 song EP of just songs from Troma movies, because like Toxic Avenger has a couple good
should
ones.
I? It's not about if I could.
The Sergeant Kabuki Man theme fucking fucks. Like
You could pull a Poultrygeist.
yeah, you can
I
do
can
the
do a cover of
Poultrygeist theme. Yeah.
Man, I don't.
Chickens tonight.
You're all gonna die. Man, I love that song
yeah.
so much. Anyway, well, let's continue on about bands, because when they go to this pool party,
Oh yeah, there's a band playing.
but they're playing like 80s, late 80s pastiche of 50s rock and roll, but they're dressed as beatniks, which is hilarious to me because beatniks didn't listen to that music. They listened to jazz. You know, just like it was such.
It
and
felt
I don't
a little Phantom of the Paradise-y to me, like where they like are just switching genres.
Honestly,
Yeah,
though,
they fuck.
let's be real. Time frame wise, kind of more Streets of Fire.
Streets of Fire.
This
Yeah.
is like it's got that same like, all right, what is this? This is punk rock, but it's also a 50s doo-wop band, but like here's a
I would listen to this
playing.
band, though.
Yeah.
Anytime over the sweaty dude playing. He played saxophone, and was that the saxophone player in Streets of Fire? Wasn't the singer also playing sax in that bar in Streets of Fire?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna go back and rewatch. Sorry, guys. But I really enjoyed that.
They liked me.
Yeah. But I did enjoy the pool party, which is so funny. That whole scene was very funny. In that it felt so Revenge of the Nerds, but with lower stakes.
Yeah.
Even though they also use the F word a lot in this movie, like the F bomb.
That is
maybe more than they did in Revenge of the Nerds. Maybe.
I don't think they
know.
actually use it that much in Revenge of the Nerds. They're just very rapey in Revenge of the Nerds.
Well, there's that too.
Yeah,
Their
but
actions.
Yeah, their actions are way. That was the thing where I was like, I hit play on this, and I'm like, all right, it's 1986. It's a high school movie. Like, I feel like Lloyd's always been pretty progressive. I don't think I'll hear that word in this. And then I heard that word quite a bit.
He wrote the screenplay.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing about this screenplay is that it started as a project by this guy named Richard Haynes called Atomic High School, in which the guy Gary Schneider would have played the teenage son of a family of post-apocalyptic cannibals that would trick his dates into coming over to his house, quote-unquote, for dinner. Lloyd, he stepped in, the plot changed, he rewrote the entire fucking thing, and he just gave that Gary Schneider guy a small role as Pete in this movie. But I truly think the only thing that carried over from Atomic High School is the concept that it's next to a nuclear power plant and that they have a quote-unquote atomic high when they smoke the irradiated weed, which just made me laugh so hard because it's like, oh, and the one guy who's dressed like kind of in blackface.
Yeah, I don't know what that vibe was. That was a weird vibe.
I didn't like that at all.
No.
I cringed the hardest when he was on screen throughout the movie. But also, the other real head scratcher was Punk Hitler. Did you catch that one character?
Punk Hitler was a weird call. Here's the thing: even not in Lloyd's hands.
Well, I did like that he still had the side part but just with a mohawk. Like, so I did like that.
It was funny,
aesthetic.
but it was also like in such poor taste. But I just felt like that's the poor taste that I can accept from Troma.
I feel like that's.
You know, I can't accept blackface.
It's also the difference between like that's the poor taste that feels acceptable in the sense of like Lloyd is in fact a Jewish man. He is not a gay or black man. So like there's a slightly like more of a like you're fighting the power by putting like Hitler. Punk rock Hitler. It's like the same thing with like watching any Mel Brooks thing where it's like constantly bringing up Nazis and Hitler. It's like he's making fun of it because Hitler did a lot of terrible things to his entire people. Like, it's probably very empowering to like make him look like a piece of trash as a Jewish person. But yeah, bad call. But if Richard Hines got to make the movie that he wanted to make, let's keep things in check. It still probably wouldn't have been very good, since the only movie he had made prior to this was Splatter University, which is also not a very good movie. I
have not finished it. I've never made my way through it. I've tried on Prime more than once and fallen asleep.
Yeah, I'm like, I think Lloyd may have injected something into this movie to at least make it a tolerable 85 minutes.
Which one's the cover of Splatter Universe? Is it
that's the girl laying... No, that's Return to Horror High, which is actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
Splatter University is like the cheerleader screaming with a knife like dangling directly above her.
Oh, wow. No, it doesn't even...
It's as forgettable as the movie, apparently.
Yeah,
like
okay.
But you'll recognize the artwork, but it's not.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not like, because I'm going through like Slaughter High and the one that...
Return to Horror High.
Return to Horror High. And none, yeah, okay. None of, yeah.
I have to say that this movie, the stuff that really tickled me was almost exclusively surrounding the monster. What a fucking surprise, right? But I loved I think that my favorite character had to be that the power plant guy who like goes to the basement and he's like, what is that sound? Oh, what's that smell? And he drops his mask. He's supposed to have his mask on. He drops it in this toxic sludge. He like picks it up. He's like, oh, that's disgusting. And he drops it back and he walks away. And then he gets, his head like punched in by the note that I wrote down, which I don't know if it's going to hit or not, because maybe it was just me, but I called him Tadpole Groot because it felt like he was like Groot but full grown.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could see that. So the only other thing I wrote down that I want to mention is because I found it so funny is like she spits up this tadpole monster in the toilet and instantly the next scene is the main character walking with a friend who's like, did you see the expensive laser that our school just got? And I'm like, man, they're really telegraphing how we're going to take care of the monster in this one, aren't they?
It's so good. But that's the thing is, like, if this movie could be slightly less offensive, and I know this is asking too much, but I'm saying if it could have, like, focused in, been less offensive, but also more bombastic, and had the jokes be like that, but intentional instead of an accident, I feel like this movie would have been so good.
I feel like
it has the kernel, has like 4 kernels of fun stuff.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you could erase the Cretans entirely, just make them regular ass bullies that are or just drug dealers, and like not make them the key demographic of the plot, and the rest of it is fine. And I think that's, again, it's been a while since I watched it, but I'm pretty sure that's what they do in the remake. Is like Return to Nuke 'Em High. It is just like kids smoke weed and are all mutating, and it's just like the mutant kids of this high school. So it's just fully body horror.
Very click-y, or like it kind of took that portion of it away.
It had a little bit of like a Romeo and Juliet aspect to it, but it was like a lesbian love story too, but the one girl doesn't realize that she's gay yet until they smoke the weed and like start to like find it. God, that thing juggles so much shit, but it's so good.
It does. This one? Of the other 4, which one is that?
That's technically 4. Return to Nuke 'Em High Part 1.
Volume 1, I think. Is
Volume 1, yeah. They made a 2.5 hour long movie and just split it into 2 volumes, but we had to wait 6 years to get Volume 2 for some reason.
So they didn't actually make a one movie and cut it in 2. They made 2 movies.
Yeah, basically.
You've been lost in the woods for hours now, stumbling around in the dark. You come around the bend and see 2 people roasting marshmallows over a roaring fire. They see you coming into the clearing and gesture over to pull up a log. Welcome to Campfire Ashes. I'm Paul.
And I'm Jess. Join us as we tell each other our originally written spooky stories around the campfire and then dive into the lore and legends that inspired them. Is it something that goes bump in the night? Is it something menacing lurking past the tree line? Or is it just weird and otherworldly? You'll find it here on Campfire Ashes.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or right here on the Geekscape Network.
What are you gonna double feature this with?
So I'm going to double feature this with a movie that Scott's going to hate watching. Kyle's going to love that I picked it. And I will mostly enjoy myself. But obviously, even with the name, with the Cretans, this movie is totally a send-up to Class of 84.
They named it that on purpose.
Yeah, yeah, like 100%. So it's like it. Sometimes the easy answer is still the correct answer.
Fair. All right. What about you, Kyle?
That's kind of a little bit of a brutal double feature, even though I fucking love 84 a lot. We've talked about it a lot, but for me, it is Return to Nuke 'Em High. Like, I mean, I think that as I kept watching this, I just kept being like, I want to watch Return. Like, I couldn't think of any. I really there was nothing else I wanted to watch while I was watching it. So even though we talked about it a lot pre this question, it's right on the money. It really is the better version of this movie, and it's great.
Well, and I spent all of my favorite moments watching Nuke 'Em High, wishing that I was watching another gooey baby Groot grow up, the Kindred.
There you go.
Nice.
I also, we mentioned it a couple times in the beginning, but my other option for double feature was Toxic Avenger. It's like half the same cast, at least 3 scenes that are just directly scenes that happen in Toxic Avenger. But all right. Well, I mean, we can wrap up unless you have a second question for me, Scott.
I do have one more question for you, Matthew.
Okay.
What do you want to share with us this week? What have you done, listened to, been experienced?
You know what? It's a show that quite a few people have been talking about, and I'll join the ranks of talking about it. Finally sat down and watched Shrinking on Apple TV, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's everything you come to expect. It's totally a Bill Lawrence show. Bill Lawrence has pretty much been behind 2 of my all-time favorite shows at this point, because he gave us Scrubs, which is my number 1 of all time, and like Ted Lasso is probably the best TV show of the last 10 years. And Shrinking is no different. Like, it's literally the combination of the show is written and co-created by the combination of Bill Lawrence, the actor who plays Roy Kent in Ted Lasso, and Jason Segel. So they just sat down and created this show together. The very quick elevator pitch of it is Jason Segel plays a therapist whose wife passed away a year prior, and he's been in a funk. He's pretty much abandoned his daughter and is like boozing, having hookers over every night and doing painkillers. And he has this epiphany that he wants to start treating his patients as if they were his friends instead. And while it makes him start to fix his life, it implies that there are absolute ramifications when you start to break that barrier that is supposed to be there between a therapist and a patient. And it takes some really interesting twists and turns, but at its core, it is 98% of the time very much the like heartfelt Bill Lawrence show that you've come to expect, where if you cry, it's usually a good cry of like the release of joy and happiness, versus like the Hereditary cry where you're just like, I've just been punished with so many negative thoughts and feelings for 2 hours. So I mean, I will always take a joyful sob over the world is a terrible place. Watch it. It's a good show. It's a well-written show. It's 10 episodes. I can't wait for season 2. How about you, Scott, since you asked me? What have you watched?
Well, I Punk Hitler means that mentioning Punk Hitler means that I need to talk about vampire killing Hitler, which is The Keep. I finally read and finished F. Paul Wilson's The Keep, which is a goofy fucking book.
Did you get that first edition?
I read a first edition. And it is just such a silly fucking book. It is so of its time. I enjoyed the read, but you have to read it in a historical, like, kind of, your mindset has to be like, this was written in the very late 70s, very early 80s. I think it came out in 80. I think it was 80.
Yeah.
And so it's older than me, but it also is just like every character kind of is written in hysterics. It seems to me like F. Paul Wilson thought that he was gonna get paid by the exclamation point. It's a really fun read. It was easy. I think I read it in a week. I mean, it's not short. I mean, it's like 400 pages or something. But I am also stoked because there are talks that they're making a mini series that's going to actually follow the book. And I was very interested because there was a part kind of at the very tail end of the second act, right before you get to the third act of the book, where I'm like, oh my God, is the writer going to make the vampire actually want to go kill Hitler? Because the whole conceit of the book is that it's this eternal evil kind of creature who is in the keep. They really changed it a lot for the movie, which is fine. But the one character is this old Jewish scholar, and he is talking to the vampire, quote unquote, and he's like, you know, this man, the Führer Hitler is because it's based in World War II. Sorry, might have missed mentioning that. But he wants to exterminate all the Jews and then all the other undesirables who live in Romania. And the monster is like, well, I will kill this Lord Hitler. And I'm like, is that really where this is gonna go? Is that really gonna happen? It doesn't. I don't think I'm spoiling a 43-year-old fucking book, but by saying that. But it was a fun read. It was so silly, and I enjoyed my time with it. I don't know if that one is gonna make its way to Horror Finds, though. That might get donated to Horror Finds because I don't see myself rereading it, just because. Sure. Once you know the actual intricacies of the story, it doesn't have, like, to me, it doesn't have enough twists and turns to want to reread it. Like, I'm not a huge novel rereader. I could probably count on one hand the large novels that I have read twice, and it's mostly Stephen King. So yeah, that's what I read. Kyle, what about you?
I watched The Cell for the first time. 2000
with Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez, Vincent D'Onofrio, Vincent Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's a great movie. It kind of falls off a little bit at the end.
I think I remember it falling off at the end.
Was
it your first watch?
First watch. I got the Snapcase DVD. On my Instagram story, I posted the advertisement that was included for I think it was Sony. No, it was New Line. Excuse me. It was.
Is that what I messaged you about?
Yeah, Matt was like, I have this and I have this. I can't believe I only have two on this page or whatever. But I mean, it's a 23-year-old movie at this point. But Oof, Jennifer Lopez actually is pretty great. Vince Vaughn's
she's a good actor.
She's a good actor. This was but I would say in Kyle's defense, she has become a very good actor.
Okay.
Early 2000s, the jury was still out on that one.
Well, I think that maybe, and I also think that maybe like they had to, maybe they kind of reeled her in a little bit. Like maybe, I actually think that I think that she probably had more range than she gave here in The Cell. But she was a young performer, young actor at that point too. And by 2000 she's a name already, so it's like, what do you do with that? I don't know. But regardless, I mean, for me it was Silence of the Lambs meets Altered States meets a little bit of Jodorowsky, and I was like, these are all things I really dig. And I went in pretty blind. Like I didn't really know. I knew that there was some sort of like being in somebody's mind trippy stuff, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I don't know if they've ever I don't know if there's enough, I don't think there's enough for us to talk about here on the show really, but it's a very fun, interesting watch with some really cool visuals and some great performances, but maybe like not as satisfying as an ending as I would have hoped for. Sort of one of those like everything's fine endings, and it's like, well, dude, it really wasn't fine for a lot of the movie.
But
like,
what do you know what? Again, that is like, if that ain't the like 1999 to like 2006, like thriller / horror, like mainstream horror movie aesthetic. It was like everyone needs to go home happy. We can, there were so few closing credit jump scares in like that era of horror films.
And it's not like I mean, I know that came up, but it's not like I was looking for like the cliffhanger ending, but it's like this is pretty dramatic. Like this psychologist has, been through really a thing that no other psychologist can even relate to because of the technology and the trauma in which they've been like. And we're just going to be like, oh, no, she's fine. She might date Vince Vaughn after. But I don't know. Maybe they shared this thing.
Let me propose something to you real quick, and then we'll wrap up the episode. But with that same thought process in mind, Face Off. We're supposed to expect that after everything that happened, John Travolta's not only back to a normal life, but his relationship with his family is actually strengthened from this whole experience.
Like, so what happens when your daughter's Dominique Swain, right?
Yeah, that is like that late 90s, early 2000s. Like, don't think about it. Everything's happy. Go home.
I hope that my hope for myself is that as a white heterosexual male filmmaker that I can at least, even though maybe it might not be my experience, I can at least not be delusional about the things that happen in the films that I make. My hope is that no studio will be like, but it's for the kids. Nobody's that old in a studio at that point when I'm making a movie. But
I want the Wound Within to like basically be the same ending as The Cell. I don't even know the storyline yet. I just know the very simple elevator pitch concept, and I want that happy ending.
You just want everything to be okay. Yeah. No trauma exists in this world.
I know this movie is literally about trauma. Can you take that out?
Can you just take the trauma
as a
bits
backer,
out?
Can you like? I'm not trying to like strong arm you, but
no, but just know
you have my
what
money.
I'll understand what you have.
I am an executive producer, right?
Yeah, you are. I know what you have at stake here, Scott. So I would consider that strongly when we go into production.
All right, well, that was The Cell as recommended to recently fully financed filmmaker Kyle Cookta.
Yeah.
So stay tuned next week for even more horror movie night goodness.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.